Hi, everybody. It's Dr. T here today, and I'm so glad to connect with you. I'm doing another one of my client interviews, and I'm with the amazing Julie Couillard, who I affectionately call Jules, which is like one of my favorite words in the world to say. I always wanted a Jules in my life, and now I have one. Um, so, just as a reminder for each of you that watch these interviews, why I do these is because there's so many of you that inquire. You ask lots of different questions about my work, my team, the program. Can it work for you? All kinds of different things about it. And I think it's best answered by people who have gone through the program. And I really am going through like sort of my real rock star clients and who I know will really be able to connect with you about their own experience with what was going on with them, how the program experience happened for them, and what the results were. And I just want to give everybody a sense to learn about my amazing clients and what's possible. So Jules, so just tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My background about how I got here.
Well, and just like who you are, what you do, that kind of thing too.
Um, my name's Julie, and I am an electrical engineer with an MBA in finance. I've worked in the utility space my whole career, many, many, many years. And I worked both at utilities, I've run a utility, I've worked at startups and consulting firms. So I've had quite a breadth of experience there. I've been married and divorced twice, no kids, but I have a cat. I had another cat, but she passed away recently.
Yeah. Hmm.
We're missing her right now.
Yes.
And I just have moved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm new to Florida, moved from California, and made it through that process with a few minor hitches, but nothing major.
I love it. I love that that's how it is these days for you, Jules, right?
Yeah,
That's great.
way different.
So, Jules, well, I know that just for you all to know, Julie is one of the most exceptional people that I have ever known in what she has done with her life, in what she has persevered through, overcome, taken on, kicked butt at, and just been just completely persevering through. And just a whole, the human experience is so interesting at times. And Jules has just been ridiculously courageous. And she's accomplished a lot of human transformation, a lot in her life. Um, and she did that even before coming to do the program, the 12-week program. But I do want to check in, Jules, and just ask, what were some of the things that were going on that you were struggling with before, right? That was preceding you doing the program, right? Because there was things that were going on with your how you were feeling, and what were you suffering from, struggling with, what was going on in life?
So I was having a lot of physical health issues.
Hmm.
I was exhausted all the time. I had gained a lot of weight and didn't know why. But I mean, there were days I couldn't function. I couldn't focus. I couldn't. I mean, I was lucky I could see.
Yeah.
And because of all of that, and had been to many, many different doctors, I was on a lot of different weird drugs. I shouldn't say drugs, medications. And I was I was swinging between anxiety and depression, but it was mostly depression.
Yeah.
And I'd had lifelong insomnia. So that
Yes.
was layered on top of all of this other crazy stuff happening. And I'd been to a couple of rehabs because I was drinking to sleep, and it got out of control, basically to where I almost killed myself.
Yeah.
And I went to AA. I did everything I was told, and nothing worked. And I was getting really fed up, and really kind of on the edge of, I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
No, I wasn't suicidal, but it was close.
Right. It's like, if I'm in this much pain, it's a natural thought to think, I'm not down with this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, I will try anything. And I mean, honestly, I tried anything. Anything that you or your team told me to do, I did it.
Yeah.
And part of that was starting the 12-week program.
Yeah.
And what it did for me was it gave me a reset.
Nice.
It's like it's like, okay, we're stopping here and we're starting fresh, and we're gonna. And I know I complained because I had to redo forms and all this stuff. Like, I've done this thing 15 times. But I did it with a different set of eyes. And my different set of eyes was, I want to be healthy. And I want to be able to have feelings, because I'm a shutter downer.
Yeah.
So I want to be normal for my normal.
Yeah.
And so that's why I agreed to do the program.
And Jules, what else was going on with regard to, like, work and stuff, that these issues that you were experiencing, and how it was impacting your life?
So I was working for a company that hired me for one thing, was to run their office and to get more work and, really grow the office. And once I got there, I discovered a number of really bad things were going on. And there was no corporate support. So I was left hanging in the wind with both the client and the employees, trying to hold this place together. At the same time, I was having all these health issues.
Yeah.
And I was trying to, and in the past, I've always been able to push through and go. And like, I traveled for 15 years every week. And I just, you know what, it got to the point where I didn't want to do it, but I finally agreed with the team that I needed to take time to take care of myself. Yeah. And I took a disability leave.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, things were so crazy at work. I would get there and I would almost have panic attacks because it was so bad. And I was getting no support, and I was being blamed at the same time. So it was very toxic.
Well, and so so many people I know can relate to this, because, again, you're somebody with the most strong and intense drive and capacity. And what was happening, right, is that, like so many of you, that drive can take you so far. And I feel like, knowing Julie, like, she squeezed the juice out of her drive and self-will. But at a certain point, when we need more of an emotional foundation, we can just feel like we just can't. There is no other gear to go into. So for Jules, the worst thing, like for so many of you, would be to take a break, right? That spells like that's not even in her DNA. But
failure.
Yeah, it's because, and we know that we've shifted that, what that really is about. But that was so important, because it did then allow Julie to do a reset, because her body, like so many of you folks, the what happens when things aren't where you need them to be on a hugely big emotional level for yourself is that your body starts to implode. And Julie was going through an experience which had been going on, I think, for a very long time when we really look at it, of just different, so many of you say to me, my neck pain, my back pain, my psoriasis, like all these things just develop. People start to implode, and when you keep pushing, but then the foundation isn't where it needs to be, people just start imploding. Their physiology starts saying, "We're shutting down here. We're acting out. We're up," and so Jules had like all of these things going on, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was really an important, triumphant transitional moment to say, I'm taking this pause on showing up for this corporation. But one of the things, I don't know if you, Jules, I remember I think, and I knew that this was the perfect time, that even though it was a pause from those responsibilities, I knew it was a perfect time for Jules to reset and fuel with that emotional foundation that needed to go to the next level. That when we worked with her one-on-one, it could only get so far, right? She was busy with life, and every day was doing, she's just doing all this stuff. So this allowed that reset for her. So, so Jules, with all that, and I love that you say that provided a reset and just a next level um, transformational experience. So, um, Jules, how about in the experience of going through the program? If you could, what happened for you as you were going through the program?
Well, like I said, at first I was like, oh.
Like so many people go, Dr. T, I've got to do what? I don't feel good.
I've done this already. Don't you, I think I actually asked you, don't you have this already in your files?
Not this one.
We're doing it again. And like I said, I looked at it with a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah.
And I looked at it not from the past, but from where I was presently. Because, I can't change past anymore, and I've dealt with that. I had to look at where was I now, and where do I want to be, and what do I want to be currently and going forward.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, that's a huge shift, because I've always been outwardly looking, like taking care of everybody else and never care of me. And I switched it up, and it's like, okay, this program is for me. I'm going to look at it from that point of view. And I learned a lot about how I think. Yes. Like how why do I go to where I go to? And I've been able to recognize it quickly and stop it. Whereas in the past, it's like, I've heard that and I thought I was doing it, but I really wasn't.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And
yeah.
filling out some of the, I know there's a lot of homework and a lot of work, but it helps when you meet with your counselor, whoever it is. For me, it was Kristen, that she can zero in on, hey, I see a pattern here. What's going on, or,
right.
Why this? And then we could talk it out, and then I'd be like, oh my goodness, I get it,
Yeah, Jules, you're speaking to something really important, because what Julie's saying is, and clients have said, this is a very active transformational process, right? Because so much, and granted, when people are not feeling well, that can feel intimidating, but that's why Jules is saying, like, even though that can be that way, you're gonna get what you need if you know that the process is gonna get you somewhere, then it will feel differently.
Right.
And
right.
For those of you that have asked so many different questions about what's in the program, Jules is speaking about an important thing, which is we do through the process, there's an extensive amount of active transformational process that you do that we are then able to look and discover and diagnose. There's a ton of evaluations. You can almost call them like emotional labs as well, and behavioral and emotional labs. And when we get that much minutia about a person, because there is that much, then we do get to see this sort of matrix and puzzle of a person. how all these things that are happening make sense, and then how we can fix them sort of in an easier way rather than you thinking you have 79 issues, right?
Right.
Which is really exhausting when you go, how about for all of you? When you're like, I got to do this, I have this problem, I have a marital problem, I have all these problems, physical. And when you are able to go through this process this way, then it simplifies it all down into what's really happening. And
Yeah.
that's really cool and it's exciting. We get to see that and acknowledge that. And you all become detectives now for the rest of your life in that at that same degree, right, Jules?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's amazing. Like,
so, so Jules, what were some of the things that you wanted to change, right? Knowing that like these are some of the outcomes that I want for myself. What were those?
one was I wanted to live a happy life. Two, I wanted to be able to feel my emotions
Mm-hmm.
and not be afraid of them. And I wanted to be the detective. I started before the program being my own medical detective because I
Yeah.
learned that you have to take care of you when it comes to medical stuff because everybody and their brother will throw a pill at you, and the
Yeah.
last thing I want is a pill.
Yeah.
And but being an emotional detective is different than a medical detective. And for somebody who shut down their feelings from the first moment I can remember,
Yeah.
that was huge for me to learn. And I know a lot of this is very scary to folks, but and I was scared to death.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I hate when I cry. I mean, I hate it, and my body would instantly shut it off. I mean, I wouldn't even think about it; it would
Right.
just stop. And now I can freely cry and let it happen, and then it goes away, and I feel better.
Wow.
I actually feel better. I thought I'd feel worse. So, I think those two, that and the getting the medical fixed,
Yeah.
and then being able to not be afraid of people.
Right.
That was
Huge, Jules.
and I have worked. I'm shocked that in 12 weeks I was able to turn all that around and get a new job and move and be able to move on. I mean, it's amazing.
Right. These are the goals. Like this was really going into it, what Julie's goals were. And I remember saying like, whatever we've done preceding that, like this is an accelerator, right? This is an accelerator. It doesn't mean every moment of it's going to be easy because it is accelerating you and you do have to apply yourself so that you don't need to keep extending the process. And and Jules, what you're speaking to also is, because Jules, you represent, the very brilliant, intelligent people that that come into our program that I've always worked with who have you're off the charts, and yet there's this emotional piece that never gets developed in any of us from the time we're younger. We're all sort of surviving. And for those of us like that are emotionally sensitive, then that emotional sensitivity just sort of over time we just get it wears us down and it breaks us down, and it makes it so that even a conversation feels emotionally overwhelming, and you avoid it, you protect from it, and we develop before we add the top emotional strength onto having sensitivity, which is an amazing thing because then you can be sensitive to human beings and be strong, and that combination is what Julie's now referring to. But otherwise, we develop these protective strategies until we build that emotional strength. Because, again, it can be like you don't even listen to somebody's voicemail because you can feel emotionally overwhelmed, by that. So it's right on the money, Jules. They like, yeah, Jules had these particular goals, and one of them was, I remember her feeling like this job thing is going to take forever, and things that are understandable when, even though Jules had worked on this there was her emotional foundation was just at a certain level, and it needed to go to the next level for all the stuff that she wanted to happen, including if she was in a new company and there happened to be some shenanigans that she could go into that. You could go into that. Jules like empowered emotionally, which is different than intellectually.
Right.
So, and then Jules, you also, if I remember, you wanted to keep lightening your body up, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I needed to lose the weight.
Got it. So you wanted to alleviate all of these things that were imploding and becoming medical conditions, which required a cascade of treatment and all these things. And like I said, be able to be happy and be able to have that was one that's great. And be able to have conversations, be able to approach things and not emotionally avoid them. And I love all this. So Jules, those are amazing goals. And um, say more about the experience of going through the program and how what was happening for you in different stages, and what was working and what was maybe even what was surprising. So helping give people an idea of the kind of development and transformation that they can expect throughout the process.
Sure. Well, so I like to call this going through emotional college semester 101. 12 weeks and intense. I mean, but if you do the work, it's amazing how quickly you understand, you learn from the groups. And if you get on the calls, I think to me, if you can do your best, join the calls because you learn from each other. I learned so much from some of these other wonderful human beings on the calls
Yeah.
that I'd be like, duh. Wow, I just learned something from you. Or they would say, oh, I learned something from you.
Yep.
Just the sharing alone. Or the supportive comments or whatever was happening at that time, the group would come together and support each other. And having that support while you're trying to do all this work and really delve deep. And some of it is hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hard and it hurts. Some of it hurts. I mean, you have to be completely honest with yourself about yourself.
Yes.
And some of it can be ugly. At least for me, some of it was pretty ugly.
You have to have the courage, right, Jules? You have to have that courage.
Right. But, I think for me, I was always a doer. So I hit it and I did all the paperwork first. That's just kind of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat down and just banged it out. And I think that helped because then I was like, whoosh, now I can focus on the program.
Yeah.
They have all my stuff. And then when we were doing the modules, there would be certain modules where you had to do a little bit of writing. And I would do it right away after the module so I wouldn't forget.
Right.
And then take a picture of it and send it in. And then when I had my one-on-ones, we would share I think the Tuesday, Friday calls, I think what I like about it is it started out on a positive note.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like to the therapist and where you bitch all the time. It was, here's what I'm celebrating this week, and even if, and there were times when I would say, I have nothing to celebrate. And then all of a sudden something would come to mind. Right. And it would just, maybe even if it was a little thing, it was something to celebrate. And it's, when you start doing that, and I do daily gratitudes now, is it switches your mindset to be positive. You're more positive and you think positive because you're natural. I think humans naturally think negative.
Right. Yeah.
And so I find myself now really catching when the negative comes very quickly, and I turn it around and go, no, this is really blah 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 blah, and I stay in the positive zone
Love
80 to
that.
90 more
Like,
than I was. I was always in the negative zone.
that is profound, Jules. 80 to 90%, because that's what Julie's now, on the other end of is a kind of very, it's an intensive, meaning an intensive amount of time, accelerated amount of time. The conditioning, after a lifetime of the conditioning of the rest of the world, everybody's focused on the negative. Everybody around us is in stress. For the most part, we are literally surrounded by negative emotional patterns. So that's amazing to be able to be having Julie really put herself to that task to condition that in herself and then be able to be automated that 80 to 90% of the time to be able to either feel that way or catch the old conditioning, flip it, and be back in the zone. Because otherwise, and what Julie's referring to is that when we go into the old conditioned emotional stress patterns, it just sets off a chemical cascade in our body, a chemical reaction that feels crappy. That conditions our biochemistry. And when Jules is talking about her new conditioning and staying there or coming right back there in that emotional home, that keeps changing your biochemistry so that your body is strengthening chemically, and all of the symptoms that end up having names and disorders and everything start to reverse themselves. So Jules, talk about that part for as you were just building this rock solid emotional foundation and really, again, as Julie said, really have to be committed to it. What did you notice, or, yeah, what is the result of where the fatigue was and all of that? Where are you now?
So, you know, I have a ton of energy most of the time.
It's amazing.
Like, I'm still struggling with the insomnia because it's a chronic condition. But even when I have a bad night, once I get rolling in the morning, I'm fine the whole day. And then
So
I can
good.
go exercise at night. That never,
Yeah.
ever happened before. And I can stay positive and I can say, okay, tonight I'm going to sleep better, and
Love it.
rather than being like, oh, shoot, I didn't sleep again,
Yeah, Jules, it was like Jules was fighting through each day. Like every
yeah,
day was a fight through. Yeah.
it was just like by my fingernails.
Yeah.
I mean, literally by my fingernails. And I'm off all of my crazy medications except for the stuff I need. Thyroid and
Right.
hormone,
Right.
normal human stuff that happens as you age. And unfortunately,
Oh.
I'm aging. And I'm taking supplements just because I have special supplements just because I have a special problem with absorbing nutrients.
Right.
So, it's just normal stuff that just goes along with things that have happened to my body. But I'm not on Seroquel and I'm not on all these other
So
really, psychotropic drugs
Yeah.
that
The pharmacy that Julie used to do.
oh my God, the
And
shit they had on. And I still didn't sleep.
right.
And
Well,
trying to get off it was horrible.
isn't this an important one, Jules, for us to see too?
Yeah.
And that's where I really, again, I remember knowing like Jules needs to take her foundation to the next level because um the ability for like every medication that you tried, right? Every because Jules is somebody who's not going to give up on feeling the way she wanted to feel and being the way she wanted to feel. She has too many important things she wanted to be doing in the world and taking care of herself and providing for herself and all of those things, and then still the power of where she was still on an emotional level, right, which comes from all of our family of origin, right, whatever we absorbed and gained and got trained without us meaning to, that stuff was so resistant, right, because
Yeah.
also we're all still doing stuff with our families, and that negative stuff is around. So all of that medication, everything was resistant. And what's important to know is that that's how interesting it is to know that the emotional foundation is the strongest thing that you can ever do, because these medications, they can't be strong enough for what needs to be, for what really needs to be strong at the root level. And you could just keep taking them and having all their side effects and everything, and it'll be as almost as if you're not taking them at all.
Well, I was maxed out on all three of the ones I was taking, because when I went beyond them, I had such extreme joint pain. I wanted to go to the emergency room, and they suppressed my emotions. Exactly. So they made me dead. I kept telling people, your staff, I kept saying, I feel dead inside. Yeah. I feel dead inside. And I'm like, I don't think anybody understands what I'm trying to say. I feel dead inside. I mean, I felt nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
Well, Jules, this is huge. This is important for everybody to understand. This is why it's so important for like our different unique clients to connect with you all, because different people have similar things as Julie does. And that part of understanding that when you're trying so hard to fix something and you've got medication as one of your tools, and you have to keep amping it up because things are worsening, and you're amping up all the side effects, and eventually there is a max out to the medication strategy, right? Which is why the medication strategy was never meant to be the strategy. And in fact, even in the conventional world of like psychology and healing, which I feel is, again, we're in a major evolution to need to do it differently now. But even the way it's meant to be, it's always meant to be like talk therapy plus medication, right? Or some form of active strengthening plus that. But what happens is we just go down the medication route for the most part. And most of the other modalities, they're not strengthening you enough. They're dealing with a little bit. So Julie, what as we're learning about your results, Jules, this piece of building that emotional foundation so that those medications that were not working, causing other issues, those could go down. That's a very powerful outcome. Yep. Huge. I know for who you want to be as a person, that like is congruent now with that's who you are.
Right.
And then again, if I could just tell you all, when Julie says she felt empty, dead, and the energy level, I used to be in such, I would be so, not in pain, but I'd be like so angry, like I've got to figure this out for Jules, like she have her suffering through the day in that place. And so it's, to hear Julie to be able to be at the level of she's got energy, even if she doesn't have a greatest night's sleep, she's got the kind of energy that comes from the strong emotional foundation she built, but also, as she told you all, where she was able to see what else was there and remove it in ways that without doing the program, she wouldn't have been able to see it. Right? So, and then how about the weight piece, Jules, as an outcome, and how about being able to have conversations with people? Speak to those to those outcomes.
Okay, so I have dropped 25 pounds. I still have a ways to go, but I've switched out my eating patterns. I started working with a personal trainer when I was back in California, just so that I would have accountability to do something. Yeah. But all of a sudden, it was like nothing. And then within 2 months, I lost 20 pounds. Oh. It was like boom. And then I lost another 5. Now, during the move, I may have put on a pound or 2, but I'm back on track and having conversations. I started my new job. I went to my first Pilates class, and I'm on Bumble talking to a couple of guys. Yay. Which I'm going to start dating, and then I'm going to an animal shelter orientation next weekend.
Love it.
And I've only been town for a week and a half.
This is so big. This is so great. And Jules, how do you
So,
feel like, I love this. How do you feel like what you gained from the program helped you just be able to like rock that job offer, rock the job transition, like, because you were on
yeah,
fire. You were like on fire.
it was funny. It was like nothing was happening, nothing was happening. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to let it go and go back to my old job, do my job, and the right thing will come. And out of the blue, 4 jobs arrived.
Coincidentally.
And when
Jules didn't happen to be ready or anything, right?
I stopped controlling everything, and and I met with this company that I'm with, and the culture and the absolute positivity and energy of the department head, or the top guy, and my current boss, was something I hadn't experienced in a long time. And these people were excited about me and wanted me for my experience. And I was a little bit at first taken aback, and
So easy.
and I was a little bit scared, because I'm like, am I getting the shaft again? Because but I thought, I'm going to trust them and believe them. And I talked to them 3 or 4 different times, and they were still that way. And today, honestly, I'm on my day off. I got an email from the department head that said, did we ever tell you how happy we are that you are with us? I'm going to keep telling you. I hope you like it. And I was just like,
Wow,
what?
Jules.
Totally out of the blue.
No, oh wow, Julie.
Yeah.
So good.
And the office I'm in, the first week nobody was there, so it was kind of weird. But I met a whole bunch of people this week, and they were all happy and laughing and talking to each other, and
It's amazing.
And like supporting each other and asking for help if they needed it. And it was such a like 180 from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
It was real.
Well, I want to acknowledge this because right before I remember Jules having, she was when you feel so horrible, so empty, but you want all these things to happen, and you feel like I want all these things to happen, but I don't have the capacity for them to happen. One of them was it was so important for Jules to, after all this transformation, to be able to have the right, to be able to be that person that she wanted to be in her positions at work, and be able to, out of that, be able to have the right, not the right career, the right job, the right company, but that it's the great relationship, right? Because these are all relationships, that she could be in a highly emotionally mature adult environment and have that be her daily life and be collaborative with people. And it's not a coincidence at all that when Julie was like not feeling great, but then made that commitment to up level herself and her emotional strength and get rid of any emotional vulnerabilities that we needed to find in the microscope, that all of these things started to flow to her. There was now an emotional strength that made her ready. Did you get that, Jules? Right? It made her, when that thing like all of a sudden was like landing right there, it was because that emotional readiness, so she could receive it, show up, and she was on their level. They're on her level, she's on their level, and all of those things were operating in that way. So for Jules also to be like, I can't even get out of bed before that, and then her to be so decisive. That's another piece of emotional strength. When you, Jules, were able to become so decisive, like she thought about her job, going to be decisive. I'm going to take action. I'm going to say yes to what it is that I manifested, and then just take those steps to make her transition across country. And just, again, you're just on fire, Jules. Like, you just went toward you created a vision, you were able to execute it, and then all the bandwidth was there to just go for it, receive it, and land in it. And now, does not surprise me, but this was always what we were looking at, is that people would appreciate Julie and send her emails like she got today.
Yeah, sure.
There it is. There it
Yeah,
is.
nice.
There it is. And so what's exciting about the dating tools too is that now again
Oh,
when the emotional foundation is there, I've always said to Julie, all things will go like this, right? All
yeah,
of the things will go in the same flow. And so I'm just like, so congratulations on all of these things clicking, Jules, and you stepping into the next one because you're totally emotionally ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it.
You're in it. So no different than when these other things were scary, but you went toward what you want. And that's what's
Right.
important for everyone to know is that you'll keep building more emotional strength as time goes on when you go toward what you want, and then you stay committed to being emotionally strong and doing what you need to do for yourself there.
Right.
It's amazing. So,
Yeah.
Jules, what would you say about, looking at our time here, what would you say to people who feel like, they've got 15 diagnoses, they feel so fatigued, they've got so many things, they've got jobs and everything that just feels totally overwhelming as it is. Like, I don't have the energy to do something like this. Probably can't work for me, and have never thought to do something in a different paradigm like this. What would you say to them to help them understand?
My first reaction is take the leap.
Mm,
Do something for you for a change. Um, and I know it's scary, but if the other stuff isn't working,
mm,
it's not going to work. It's not going to keep working.
yeah.
It's just not going to work. And trying something different, it can't hurt you.
Yeah.
It can't
Yeah.
hurt you. And I think you'll find that you'll learn a lot and come out the other end a better emotional person,
Yeah.
and able to handle things. And the team that Tracy and her team are wonderful coaches and wonderful support, and they've heard and seen it all. So there's nothing that you can say to them that they're gonna faint over.
There's nothing we won't take on,
And,
right?
and it it's worth the investment in you, is what I have to say.
Nice,
It
Jules.
really,
Nice,
and
Jules.
I'm glad I did it. And I was the same way. I'm like, oh, really? I don't know. Yeah, but it worked, and it continues to work, even though I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I believe in it, and I still watch the videos, and I watch the Facebook videos, and it's nice to have that community that I can reach into if I have a problem, and just take the leap. Jump off that cliff and go for it.
Love that.
It is worth it.
It's worth it. Jules, and why do you think, so this is another one when I say that people can be fully equipped, right, by the end of the program. Doesn't mean people won't want to work on things, but it has a different quality, right? It's not like, oh my God, so many things are wrong with me, I have to work. It's not, it's that you'll be fully equipped to be able to continue to grow as a person in a nice way. So in your opinion, why does it continue to work ongoing?
I think it's because you get the tools to keep focusing on what you want to focus on. So,
Yeah.
The tools you learn in this academy, you can use across all aspects of your life. It's not just like, well, here's a tool for this and here's a tool for, it's not like pills, like here's a pill for this and here's a pill for that. These tools are life tools, and you can use them for anything that's happening in your life. And that's what I've been doing, between the move and the cat passing away, and helping out with my family with surgeries, and I mean, it just it becomes almost second nature. Actually, a lot of it, it just
There
becomes
it is.
New, and so you don't even have to think about it after a while. It just happens, and
that's great.
So, yeah. And it just, to me, I've tried everything else, and this is the one thing that for me was more positive focused, gave me some wonderful tools, and taught me how to recognize my emotions, feel my emotions, and be an emotional adult. Like, move past that 10-year-old who, shut down every time anything happened,
Wow, Jules.
Yeah, it works.
Wow.
It works.
Wow.
Believe it works. And like I said, it can be scary at first and it seems daunting, but we all have a lot of stuff going on in our life. It's not like you're working on this 24/7. It's an hour here, an hour there. Take a little time for yourself and make yourself better.
Jules, you just said something so profound that I could not have ever said better, which is, because a lot of clients, they say this, you never unlearn it, right? Because this is what gets conditioned and automated. But the part where it really does become second nature, and why that's so important for everyone to know is I designed it that way because this was self-serving for me a long time ago, is that I never wanted being a person to be work anymore. I wanted to do things that helped make it so that I didn't need to work at anything, including just being me. And so so that the ability for this just to become second nature, to have it automated, so that all the old reactions to things that were automated, and you didn't want those reactions, but they'd hit you. The type of conditioning that we do and the way it works is exactly what Julie's talking about. Then it's second nature to just respond to life in the way that you want to. Right. So that's wonderful. Now, Jules, I'm going to ask one last thing, which is, because I think you have a unique perspective of this, and I might be making this up in my head, but it's there. So I'm going to say, for people that might, for people in this group, they've obviously come to learn I'm very passionate, I'm very powerful, I'm very insistent and adamant on what I believe and what I feel is important and how I lead. And sometimes, I remember at like 23 years old in my corporate career being, somebody said, I love, now that I work for you, I'm not intimidated, but before I worked for you, I was intimidated. And so for people that might feel a little intimidated by the intensity of this transformation and the way, me and the way that I lead it, what would you say about, those moments where my way of I'm gonna move people out of those struggles in whatever way that I need to? What would you say for people that might be a little intimidated?
Buckle up.
I knew you were going to say that.
I have had Tracy tell me, if I don't do this X, Y, and Z, you will no longer be my client. I mean, so I've been there, but you know what? She was right. And sometimes, I don't know about other people, but I'm hard-headed, and sometimes I need to be knocked upside the head before the blinders come off.
Yeah.
And go, but no, Tracy is very passionate. She has a lot to say, but she loves what she does, and she loves helping people. Yeah. And she helps a lot of people. I mean, I can honestly say I would not be alive today if it wasn't for Tracy. And it's not just this program. There's stuff from before, but the program on top of it all really has transformed me as a human being. And so don't be intimidated by Tracy. She's just, it's all that passion just coming out. It's not, she's not being mean, and she's not, it's just, she has such a love for what she does, and she wants to share it with everybody. Yeah. But sometimes, like me, you have to be told reality, and you just have to be able to take it, and not react or get pissed, or or
do.
It comes from the heart,
Yeah.
It comes from the heart. You're not doing it to be mean. It's you
Jules,
care enough that you're like, I want us to shake you.
well, Jules, you really hit it on the head, which is when I promise that I'm going to get you where you want to go, I'm going to get you there. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to awaken and shaken and make it not about me, but about breaking through whatever I
Right,
need to break through that's like, 14 ancestors back, this pattern was there. And so
right.
just, yeah, so know that everybody that because Julie's a perfect example of whatever I needed to shift her through, and it's also, we have clients coming to the program that want that, right? We know they want
Yeah,
that to happen because otherwise you are all so damn powerful, right? And sometimes our powerful creative abilities create a bunch of stuff we don't want, and we're really powerful in that. You are also powerful. That just keep in mind it's important for somebody that is either equally or more powerful, or at least more powerful in their emotional foundation, so that otherwise you can all just run over all of your other doctors and therapists, and they don't stand a chance with how powerful you all are. So having somebody that is willing to be as powerful as you when you are negatively powerful or struggling through something and help you really break through it, knowing,
yeah,
okay, I've got to apply some more power to this, and
yep.
know that if somebody has if somebody's upset about it, it just means we've just broken through something. So I wanted Julie to be able to
Okay.
speak to that.
Yeah. And it's okay to tell Tracy that you're mad at her.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No, this,
she'll work you through it. And
yeah. No, that's perfect too, Jules. Just like,
yeah,
it's safe for everything to be there because everything is moving us in the direction that I know my clients want to go. And to Julie's point about that, you all, it's everybody, it's also because it's again, it's completely self-serving. I love being successful, helping you all break through, and I get to see that. I get to see where I'm having this moment, and I haven't chatted with Jules for a while, and I'm hearing that she has all of this energy and everything. That's worth everything that it takes for us to get there. So
yeah.
you can count on that for me. And so Jules, I just want to thank you. And first, I want to thank everybody for their attention, and thank you for your connection and listening to us today. And Jules, thank you for your service to this group of people and to people who have been where you've been. And
Oh, you're welcome.
you, there are no words for how much I love Julie, everyone, and how proud I am of her, and how, what an amazing partner she is in never giving up on getting where she wants to be and feel as a person. And it's just an exceptional privilege. So, and it's also just fun. And, Julie's like a soul sister, and I'm so glad we're just in this great triumphant place now, Jules, and bravo for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
I'm
so,
glad I could give help.
no, no. I'm gonna just have us close today by saying, uh, that again, I guess I'll say for any of you that now are interested in to tune in, right, to live your potential programming, and and you might want to go down this path yourself or explore what might be possible for you, so that you can have the experiences like we're talking about and get to work with the amazing coach Kristen, who will literally rock your world. um, if you're interested, if you're open to checking it out, there's going to be a schedule link that we'll put when we post this video. And know that, all it is a conversation to talk about where you are, where you want to go. And if what we do is a fit for that, we'll let you know about how that works. And if not, we'll definitely make sure that you get sent down a path that you need to go for what you're needing. But don't let any sort of sense of feeling like it can't work for you, or any intimidation about what we're talking about today get in the way. Hopefully this is has inspired you to just give yourself permission to see what's possible, and get to meet us, and 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 see what the rest of your life can be like. We really hope we get to talk to you, because it's our favorite thing in the world to help people. and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.